Discover the incredible moment when a stranger's heartwarming whisper changed her life forever. On a bleak rainy afternoon in Willow Creek, Sarah cradled her tepid coffee, the steam rising like a whispered prayer against her chilled skin. The downpour outside mirrored the weight that pressed down on her heart as single mother, just trying to keep her little family afloat amidst the relentless tide of bills and expectations. She sank deeper into the corner booth of Tom's Diner. The familiarity of the place wrapped around her like a warm blanket, but the comforting smells of bacon and fresh coffee couldn't shake her feelings of despair. The bustle around her, filled with laughter and connection, only deepened her sense of isolation. Seconds turned into minutes as she sat, the rain drumming against the window a hard reminder of the burdens she carried. Her 2 children, Jamie and Lily, were at home, blissfully unaware of the struggles lurking just outside their colorful world. As she took another sip, her frustration spilled out in a torrent of words, spilling over to the kind-faced stranger next to her, a man nursing a slice of lemon meringue pie. "I wish I had more to give them. I think they deserve better." Her voice quivered, the truth of her everyday fight laid bare. Tom, the diner's owner and a retired veteran, listened from behind the counter. He caught the hint of her anguish, a familiar story woven deep into the fabric of his community. Leaning closer, he offered a few supportive words, filled with warmth. "You've got more strength than you realize," he said, his eyes locking onto hers with an intensity that seemed to break through the fog surrounding her heart. In that moment, something shifted within Sarah. Hope flickered, challenging the darkness that had settled in. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue the conversation. With the stranger began to mend her frayed edges, illuminating a bit of the shadows that had danced around her thoughts. Each word was an encouragement, pushing her to find the light amidst her struggles. As the clouds outside began to part, Sarah could feel herself breathing a little easier. She looked around the diner, noticing the sense of community that thrived within its walls. Smiles exchanged between patrons, laughter erupting like bubbles in a seltzer, and even a genuine pat on the back from a neighbor she often saw. Still, anxiety curled tightly within her. The feeling of judgment clung to her like a shadow, complicating every avenue of support. But she also recognized the small acts of kindness that surrounded her. Family members willing to babysit for a brief minute, a neighbor offering to share groceries. These moments ignited her determination. Just when Sarah began to catch her breath, news from home interrupted her thoughts. An unexpected bill had arrived, threatening to unravel the fragile stability she'd earned with each sleepless night. Would she have to make a choice that meant sacrificing what little comfort she'd worked hard for? Her heart raced. Rain began to ease outside, but a storm brewed within. Sarah was left at a crossroads, with the whispers of hope mingling alongside the fear of falling short. The din of the diner faded as she realized she had to find her voice, to stand strong for her children and against the crushing weight of uncertainty. She took a deep breath, knowing her next step could change everything. What would she decide, and how would the community respond? The rain had stopped. Now, it was Sarah's turn to shine. The warmth of hope held Sarah steady as the last drops of rain trickled down the diner window. She looked at the strangers around her, their laughter echoing in stark contrast to the turmoil in her chest. Something had shifted. The corner of her mouth turned upward, just slightly, a recognition that maybe, just maybe, there was a way forward. "Excuse me," she whispered to the stranger beside her. He looked up from his pie, his hazel eyes catching the light, twinkling with unspoken kindness. "Do you have kids?" He smiled, a genuine one, and nodded. "2 little ones. It's a wild adventure." She felt a spark of connection in his words, something familiar and comforting. "Sometimes I feel like I'm failing them." He didn't hesitate. Failing is part of being a parent. It makes you human. His words hung in the air, and for the first time, Sarah felt a little lighter. Could her failures also mean she was trying? The thoughts settled warmly in her mind. Once home, the shadows that filled her living room felt less daunting. Jamie and Lily were sprawled on the floor, enveloped in a fortress of Lego bricks, their giggles spilling like sunshine into her heart. She stepped over a stray piece, silently marveling at how they could create worlds from nothing. In her heart, she wished to build something just as magical for them. Dinner was simple that night: pasta and tomato sauce with a sprinkle of cheese. As they laughed around the table, she listened to their stories from school. Jamie showed off a drawing of a dragon while Lily mimicked a jumping frog, and Sarah couldn't help but join in their excitement. The simple act of pleasure made the burdens feel lighter, if only for a moment. Later, when bedtime stories wrapped them in soothing tones, Sarah's thoughts danced back to the stranger and his whispered strength. As she tucked them in beneath soft covers, eyes sparkling with sleep, she realized that her children were proud of their home, of her. They didn't need grand gestures, they just needed her love and presence. Yet, the gnawing anxiety about the bill was still tucked away in the back of her mind, as persistent as a shadow. That night, after the last goodnight kiss, Sarah sat on the edge of her bed, thoughts swirling like autumn leaves caught in a gust. She kept returning to the idea of that stranger's words. More strength than you realize. Could it be true? With a sense of determination, she grabbed her notebook and jotted down a plan. Ideas for extra work, potential childcare swaps with friends, and even a community fundraiser began to take shape. Each scribbled line felt like lifting another weight off her chest. By the time she finished, the sun peeked through the drawn curtains, spilling golden light into her room. Morning came with the promise of new challenges and opportunities. She could feel a tide of positivity swelling inside her, fueled by her kids' laughter and the community that had unknowingly supported her. As she prepared breakfast, Jamie and Lily bustled in, their eager voices filling the air. Sarah turned to them, locking eyes and recognizing they were more connected than ever. "Can I be stronger than a dragon and also build a rocket ship?" Jamie asked, his imagination soaring. "Of course," she said, smiling wide. "We can build anything together." Together. That thought resonated deeper than any struggle. But just as she began to feel the excitement of potential, the phone buzzed, a stark reminder of reality. An unknown number flashed on the screen. A pit formed in her stomach. Who could it be? Her heart raced, caught between fear and hope. What if this call was an opportunity that could change everything? She swallowed hard, ready to face whatever news awaited. What would she say, and how would it alter everything she had just begun to rebuild? The phone buzzed again, a relentless reminder that reality was waiting outside her hopeful bubble. Sarah took a deep breath, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. She picked up the device, her fingers trembling slightly as she glanced again at the unknown number. Did she really want to know? "Hello?" Her voice was steadier than she felt, but she was uncertain if she'd be able to handle whatever was on the other side. "Hi, is this Sarah?" "This is Mark from the community center," a warm, friendly voice filled her ear. His name sparked a flicker of recognition. He had organized events there before. Relief washed over her at the sound of a familiar voice. She let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. "Yes, this is me," she replied, the pit in her stomach easing a little. "I'm calling about the fundraiser you mentioned last night. We'd love to help you organize it." His enthusiasm was infectious, and Sarah could feel the heaviness of her worries lifting just a notch. "You want to help?" she confirmed, unsure if she had heard correctly. "Absolutely. We've got a great space and plenty of volunteers ready to pitch in. We think your idea of a community event could really bring us together." A wave of gratitude rushed through her. "Thank you so much. I didn't think anyone would be interested. There's a lot of people here who want to support one another. Just tell us what you need: food, games, entertainment." His voice was filled with a genuine sense of community, and Sarah felt a spark start to light up in her chest. "Wow, that's amazing," she replied, her earlier anxiety beginning to shift into excitement. Each word she spoke seemed to propel her further into belief that things could be different. "I'd love to brainstorm some ideas with you. Let us meet at the center tomorrow morning," Mark suggested. I'll gather some volunteers to work with us. We can make this happen. Okay, she agreed, her heart racing now with unfiltered hope. Thank you, Mark. I really appreciate it. They wrapped up the call, and Sarah, still buzzing with the first rays of potential, turned to the kitchen where Jamie and Lily were pouring cereal into bowls. Their laughter mingled with the morning light pouring through the window, and for a moment, everything felt bright and possible. Guess what? Sarah announced as she joined them. We're going to have a big community event. It's going to be amazing. Can I help? Jamie's eyes danced with excitement. Absolutely. We're going to need all hands on deck for this one, she smiled, the weight inside her chest continuing to lift. As they exchanged ideas about games, crafts, and potential snacks, Sarah felt the joy grow. Lily chimed in about wanting to dress up as a butterfly for face painting, and it made Sarah laugh. The idea of a day filled with laughter, community, and support made her heart leap. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Sarah stared out at the setting sky, painted in strokes of orange and pink. The world felt vast and open, full of uncharted adventures waiting for her. Still, a part of her hesitated. The reality of her precarious financial situation hovered in the back of her mind, a whisper threatening to dim her newfound excitement. As her phone buzzed again, her pulse quickened. What if it was more bad news? She glanced at the screen, and an unknown message flashed. Can we talk? Need your advice on something important. Like a cold splash of water, anxiety prickled against her skin. Who was it? And what could they want? Sarah looked at her kids, their laughter echoing in her ears. With the weight of uncertainty looming, she felt a mix of determination and dread. Was she ready for whatever twist awaited her? In that moment, she realized she had some choices to make. Would she step boldly forward, or let fear tether her back? The part of her that was ready to dive into the unknown was getting louder, but the decision would come at a cost. Her hand hovered over the phone, uncertainty coiling in her chest. The night had a chill to it, and even as hope flared, reality loomed behind her, demanding attention. How much could she handle at once? What would she do next? The phone buzzed again, snapping Sarah from her swirling thoughts. She took a deep breath before responding. Her heart still raced, but now it thrummed with a mix of anticipation and anxiety. She had a choice to make. After a small hesitation, she pressed on the message. Who is this? She typed, her fingers trembling. A few seconds felt like an eternity as she waited for a response. Voices of Jamie and Lily filled the background, grounding her in the chaos of family life. They were right there, laughing and playing, the innocence of their joy a stark contrast to her uncertainty. It's Jenna, the reply came moments later. From your old job. I'd really like to talk. Jenna, the name rang a bell. It was her former colleague who had left the company just before Sarah had to take a leave. They weren't close friends, but the memories of chatting over coffee in the break room came rushing in, and a pang of nostalgia hit her. She remembered Jenna's bubbly energy, always finding a silver lining even on the darker days. Okay, Sarah typed back cautiously. What's on your mind? Can we meet? It's a little complicated, and I really need your perspective. The weight of Jenna's words hung heavily in the air. Just as Sarah was about to decipher the meaning behind them, Jamie shouted excitedly from the kitchen. Mom, can I make a sign for the event? His enthusiasm pierced through the fog of her thoughts, reminding her of her newfound optimism. This event was going to happen, and it would be for them something to bring laughter back into their lives. Of course. She called back. The more, the merrier. But in that moment of excitement, Jenna's cryptic message hovered over her like a cloud. What could be so important and complicated? The kids were now arguing over the best colors for the sign, and Sarah felt a burst of warmth wash over her as she watched them. It was pure chaos, but it was also her chaos, and how she wished she could let every worry fade away. Yet that nagging voice in her head wouldn't let go. What if Jenna needed her help? What if this was an opportunity for her to give back, to find meaning again in the struggle that had swept her life away? After a few moments of indecision, she typed back, "Sure, let us meet up tomorrow after I'm done at the center." The response came quickly. "Thank you. I'll explain everything then." As she put down her phone, Sarah felt the familiar knot tighten in her stomach. Was she really ready to face more uncertainty? But then again, wasn't it all about taking risks? She grinned at the thought of the community fundraiser, buzzing with preparation and possibilities. "Mom!" Lily's tiny voice called out, pulling Sarah back. "Can I help too? We need more colors." "Of course." Sarah responded, a smile bursting across her face. They gathered supplies, and together they began scribbling ideas for what their event would look like. The room soon filled with giggles, and Sarah found herself laughing along, the weight of her unknown future feeling a little lighter, but just as she thought she could manage everything, her thoughts strayed back to Jenna. What kind of advice did she need? As the evening faded into night, thick shadows danced on the walls. The flickering light from the kitchen illuminated their faces, but inside, an uncertainty still quivered. Could she truly manage both the community event and whatever Jenna needed? Tomorrow would present itself with many questions, and Sarah felt the threads of her life weaving into something new. But would she find the strength to embrace both her old connections and her new path? With the weight of tomorrow looming over her, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change, once again. What awaited her in the daylight? Would she discover a truth that could reshape everything she thought she knew? The sun peeked through the curtains, casting soft light across the kitchen where Sarah sat, still sipping her first cup of coffee. She felt the warmth sink into her bones, but a small shiver of nervousness flitted through her. Today was the day she would meet Jenna, and she couldn't shake the feeling that whatever Jenna was about to share could flip her world upside down. As she stirred her coffee, the bubbling laughter of Jamie and Lily filled the background. They were already bustling about, preparing for the community event, their little hands ready to create magic with colored markers and cardboard. Sarah cherished these moments. Their innocence, their joy. It was a reminder of what she hoped to bring back into her own life. "Mom, can you help me pick which glitter to use?" Jamie's voice drew her attention, and she felt a smile bloom on her face. "Of course. But let us not get glitter everywhere, okay?" She joked, knowing well it was a losing battle. The laughter that echoed around her brought a sense of comfort. It was easy to lose herself in the simple delight of her kids' creativity, but Jenna's approach was still looming. She took a deep breath, trying to push down the gnawing worry that Jenna's issue might pull her into something she wasn't ready to handle. As the clock inched toward their meeting time, Sarah felt her heart race. She gathered her things, squeezing her phone in her palm as if it might offer her some kind of reassurance. Was she making the right choice? What if Jenna needed help with something too emotional, too daunting for her? At last, she stepped out of her car, the sun glaring down, reminding her that she was alive, she was here, and yet an exhilarating tangle of emotions hurried through her veins. She took a moment in the parking lot to steady herself, feeling the warmth of the sun on her skin and the heaviness of her heart. Moments later, Sarah walked into the cafe where they decided to meet. The smell of freshly brewed coffee and baked goods filled the air, wrapping her in a familiar, comforting embrace. She spotted Jenna seated at a table in the corner, nervously fidgeting with her hands. The sight of her old colleague sparked a sense of camaraderie that Sarah hadn't expected. "Hey, Jenna," Sarah said as she approached, her voice warmer than she felt. "Thanks for meeting me." "Thanks for coming," Jenna replied, relief washing over her features. They exchanged small pleasantries, but the pressing weight of unspoken words hung between them. "I know this might sound strange," Jenna began, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I really need your help with something that's been, well, it's been haunting me." Sarah's heart sank at those words. "What is it?" she asked, her own voice steadier than she felt. Jenna looked down at her cup, gathering her thoughts, then met Sarah's gaze, her eyes wide with urgency. "I've been working on a community project, but it's turned out more complicated than I imagined. And I wasn't sure who else to ask." The moment Jenna began to explain, Sarah felt a rush of emotions. It was as if the pieces of her past were colliding with her future. The burdens she carried pushed against her chest, yet something deep within stirred with the potential for change and purpose. She leaned forward, captivated by Jenna's words, wanting to understand fully, but just then, a loud crash echoed from the kitchen as a waitress dropped a tray full of glasses, snapping Sarah from her trance. It shattered the fragile moment they had, reminding her that sometimes, chaos led to clarity or chaos led to more chaos. What if Jenna's complications were just the beginning? Would this path lead her deeper into uncertainty, or would it guide her where she truly needed to go? As Sarah sat there, caught between concern for her friend and excitement for the new possibilities, the question loomed in the air: was she ready to dive into a reality that could challenge everything she thought she knew? Jenna finally took a deep breath, glancing around the cafe as if to gather the strength to speak. The din of chatter around them faded into the background, replaced by the palpable tension hanging in the air between Sarah and her. "I've been working on this project," Jenna began again, her voice firmer this time. "It's about reviving the old community center. You know, the one that's been closed for years. We've lost so many resources and connections, and it's hurt everyone." Sarah nodded, remembering the vibrant events held in that center, how it brought families together. Her heart pulsed with a mix of fondness and sadness. "I wanted to bring it back," but Jenna hesitated, her eyes fluttering with self-doubt. "I didn't think it would be this much work. There are permits, funding issues, a whole list of rules I didn't even know existed. And then there's the town council. They don't seem to care as much. Every time I walk into that meeting, I feel smaller and smaller." As Jenna spoke, Sarah could see the weight of Jenna's struggles etched into her face. It struck a chord in Sarah, reminding her of times when she felt alone, when the world seemed insurmountable. "Why do you think the council isn't supportive?" Sarah asked. "They don't see value in having a center for people like us families, lower-income residents," Jenna replied bitterly. "They think it's a lost cause, a waste of money. But every time I look at the empty space, I can imagine children laughing, classes being taught, community gatherings. All the things we had before." Sarah felt a swell of hope. Despite the shadows that loomed over them, Jenna's passion ignited something inside her. "It sounds like you really care about this." "I do," Jenna said earnestly, her gaze locking onto Sarah's. "But I can't do it alone. I need help, support. I thought of you because, well, you used to coordinate events, and I remember how amazing they were. I didn't know who else to ask. I just don't know if I have the strength to keep pushing against all this negativity." With each word, Sarah felt her heart contract and expand. Jenna was voicing fears that echoed in her own life, fears of failure, of making mistakes. But alongside that fear was an opportunity, the chance for both of them to reclaim a sense of purpose. "What if we did it together?" Sarah blurted out, surprising even herself. Jenna's eyes widened, a flicker of hope igniting within them. "Do you mean it? You'd really want to help?" "Absolutely," Sarah said, her conviction growing stronger. She envisioned not just reviving the center, but also reviving herself in the process. This could be the path she so desperately craved, a chance to blend purpose with her care for their community. "But, hey, I have to be honest," Sarah continued cautiously. "I'm not sure how much support we can rally. There might be a lot of obstacles ahead." Jenna's face flushed with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. "I know it will be hard. But we can do this, if we just start somewhere." Their conversation buzzed now, ideas flitting from one to the other, excitement crackling in the air. It felt like the walls around them were slowly melting away, revealing a vivid landscape of potential. But there was a flicker of doubt lurking at the edges of Sarah's mind. Could this really change her life? Was she ready to take a leap into the unknown? She glanced down at her coffee, swirling now cold in the cup, like the lingering fears within her. "Before we dive in," she said slowly, her voice dropping to a whisper. "There's something you should know about my past." Sarah could feel the weight of her truth pressing against her lips, ready to spill into the open air. Would this revelation seal their agreement or unravel it before it began? With her heart racing, she braced herself and prepared to share. "I've made some mistakes," Sarah finally said, her voice nearly trembling. Things I'm not proud of. Jenna leaned in slightly, her expression turning serious but inviting. What do you mean? Taking another deep breath, Sarah continued. A few years back, I was in a really tough spot. I was struggling with my own life and, well, I got caught up in a bad crowd. I ended up losing my job and almost lost everything. It was dark. Her face flushed with shame. She could feel the heat rising to her cheeks, but it felt good to say it out loud after holding it in for so long. I didn't know how to pick myself back up. In the end, I shut everyone out. Even my family. The panic that had gnawed at her returned, fluttering in her chest. When I finally tried to reach out for help, I felt so broken. I don't want you to think I'm some kind of failure, but it's hard for me to trust that I can really make a difference again. Jenna's expression softened. But you did pick yourself back up, Sarah. You're here, now, wanting to help others. That's strength. The sincerity in Jenna's words washed over Sarah like a warm blanket. Maybe this was the moment to believe in herself again. I still have that fear inside me, you know? Sarah confessed. What if I mess up this time too? What if I let you down? The community center means so much to you, and I don't want to ruin your chances. Listen, Jenna said, her voice steady. We all have things we're not proud of. But it's what we do moving forward that counts. Everyone has a history, and it shapes us. If anything, it makes you more relatable. You understand the struggles, and that's what makes you perfect for this project. Sarah felt a flicker of hope. Jenna was right. Her past didn't define her, it had guided her to this very moment. Perhaps she could redirect the pain into something meaningful. So, what do we do next? Sarah asked, her heart fluttering with a mix of excitement and anxiety. I think we start small, Jenna suggested. We go to the next town council meeting together. We can pitch our idea and show them that the community needs this place. If they see our passion, maybe it will spark something in them too. Her heart raced at the thought. What if they laugh at us? She whispered, her inner doubts creeping back. Then we show them how serious we are. This isn't just a dream, it's our community, it's families' lives we're talking about. Jenna reached across the table, squeezing Sarah's hand. We'll be in this together, I promise. The sincerity in Jenna's grip sent ripples of resolve through Sarah. She could feel a shift within her, an energy bubbling up that she thought she'd lost forever. Okay, she said, a shy smile creeping across her face. Let us do it. But as their plans unfolded in that vibrant cafe, shadows loomed over Sarah's thoughts. Should she tell Jenna more? Could her past truly stay in the past? Just then, her phone buzzed with a message, cutting through the moment, sending a chill down her spine. The text read, "We need to talk about what happened." Sarah's daydream of hope suddenly collided with the remnants of her past. Would it derail everything she was trying to rebuild? As panic gnawed within her, she realized the journey ahead was just beginning. What could this message mean for the new future she was so cautiously trying to craft? The buzzing from her phone echoed in Sarah's ears as if the entire cafe had gone silent, the chatter around her fading into a dull hum. She stared at the screen, her heart pounding in her chest. We need to talk about what happened. What could that possibly mean? Memories she thought she'd buried deep began to resurface, jagged and sharp. Doubts filled her mind. Had someone from her past come to haunt her just when she thought she could finally start fresh? Hey, you okay? Jenna's voice cut through the haze that enveloped her. Sarah blinked, trying to shake off the sensation of drifting between two worlds. You look like you've seen a ghost. Got a message. Sarah forced herself to look up, but she could feel her face betraying her. The uncertainty flickered in her eyes, a storm of doubts that twisted in her stomach. It's from someone I used to know. Jenna's brow furrowed, genuine concern creeping onto her face. Do you want to talk about it? You don't have to if you don't feel comfortable. The solace in Jenna's voice urged Sarah to open up, just a crack. It's someone from that time. A bad time, she hesitated, chewing her lip. I thought I was done with all that, you know. I don't want to drag you down with my mess. Jenna leaned in closer, her expression resolute. You're not a mess. You're working through this like a champion. And I'm here for you, no matter what. A swell of gratitude broke through Sarah's anxiety. But beneath it all, a thread of fear knotted in her heart. What if they were reaching out to pull her back? She sighed, trying to gather herself. I guess I just have to be prepared for whatever comes next. But right now, we have a meeting to focus on. I want to be present with you. Jenna gave her a reassuring smile. That's the spirit. We can deal with this later. Right now, we're on a mission to make a difference. Let us go show them what we're made of. As the two women exited the cafe, Sarah could feel the sunshine wash over her, momentarily pushing away her worries. But a persistent thought lingered in the back of her mind. How could she be brave enough to stand before the town council when a part of her felt like it was fraying at the edges? Walking to the meeting felt surreal. The streets were alive with activity, kids chasing each other in the park, vendors hawking their wares, neighbors greeting one another with warmth. It was the kind of community Sarah had always longed to be part of. But what if her past wrecked this chance? They entered the council hall, the atmosphere buzzing with anticipation. The rows of chairs were filled with people who were constant spectators of their town's fate, and Sarah swallowed hard. She felt small among their gathered presence. Just think about how many lives you could touch, Jenna whispered, nudging her elbow. Your story could inspire someone here today. Sarah nodded mechanically, but doubt clawed at her insides. What if instead, it drove them away? They took their seats, the murmurs around them rising. When it was their turn to speak, Jenna went first, clearly articulating their vision. Sarah felt a surge of admiration as she listened. Jenna was a force, her passion igniting a spark in the room. It was an energy that made Sarah's apprehension feel like a distant whisper. If even for just a moment, then it was her turn. Heart pounding, she stood, gripping the podium tightly. She looked at the faces before her, their expressions shifting with curiosity and skepticism. As she opened her mouth to speak, all the doubts flooded back, threatening to drown her in insecurity. Suddenly, she remembered the text. We need to talk. A cold sweat enveloped her. Now wasn't the time to crumble, but it was. Everything was colliding. What if she hadn't escaped her past after all? Just as she began to falter, a voice called out from the back of the room, cutting through her thoughts. Don't forget where you came from. The reminder jolted Sarah. She took a deep breath, ready to confront whatever she had hidden. What could she make of this moment? How could she turn her darkness into something illuminating for everyone there? She realized the message from her past didn't define her. It was a part of her journey. And she was ready to share that with everyone. Yet just when she began to speak, the unmistakable sound of a door creaking open caught her attention, and she turned, startled. A figure stepped in, the air around them thick with tension. The figure in the doorway was silhouetted against the bright light streaming in. Sarah squinted, her heart racing as her mind raced through a list of people it could be. A wave of recognition washed over her, followed by a twinge of dread. It was Ryan. The very name sent adrenaline coursing through her veins. They hadn't seen each other in years, and the weight of their history felt like an anchor dragging her down. The room had grown quiet, all eyes shifting from Sarah to Ryan. He paused, scanning the crowd, before locking eyes with her. A faint smile flickered on his lips, but it felt more like a challenge than a comfort. Her heart pounded louder now. Was he really here to disrupt everything she had fought for? Sarah! He called out, stepping further into the room. The familiarity of his voice was both comforting and unnerving. Can I talk to you for a second? Jenna leaned closer, her whisper almost lost among the sudden murmurs of the crowd. You don't have to, you know. You can ignore him. Focus on what you wanted to do. But Sarah felt rooted to the spot, unable to shake the familiar pull of curiosity and unrest. The words barely escaped her lips. The truth was, she wanted to know what he wanted. Every instinct screamed at her to turn away, to walk back into her safe bubble. Yet, there was an undeniable flame of curiosity igniting inside her. "I'll just be a moment," she replied, trying to breathe through the tension that coiled around her like a snake. She stepped down from the podium, feeling the weight of everyone's gazes, especially Jenna's, filled with concern. Sarah knew she was treading on dangerous ground, but she couldn't ignore the feeling of confrontation brewing in her gut. Ryan approached her, the space between them charged with unspoken words. "I didn't expect to see you here," he said, an edge creeping into his tone. His once boyish charm had matured into something more intense. It sent a flicker of nostalgia through her, mixed with a reminder of all the things she had tried to leave behind. "Seems we're both full of surprises," Sarah managed to say, maintaining a calm facade. Inside, her mind battled with a whirlpool of memories, moments filled with light and dark, laughter and tears. She wished she could push it all aside, pretend he was just another face among the crowd. But she knew better. "I heard you were making changes around here," he continued, his gaze probing. "Seems like you're doing great." His lip curled slightly, the satisfaction in his voice irking her deeply. "Thanks," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "And you? Still stirring trouble?" "Trouble? No. Just trying to figure things out." His words dripped with something she couldn't quite identify. Regret? Sincerity? Did he really care? "Why are you here, Ryan?" The question escaped her lips before she could stop it, urgent and sharp. "I want to talk about the past," he stated, the steady timbre of his voice now tinged with a hint of vulnerability. "I think it's time we face it." The room seemed to hold its breath, and the murmurs grew until Jenna stepped closer, her presence illuminating the tension that swirled between them. "This isn't the place for personal matters," she interrupted. "You should respect Sarah's space." But Sarah held her ground, wrestling internally. Should she dive into this? Was it worth it? The council meeting was already hanging in the balance, and yet here she was, teetering at the precipice of her past. "I'll talk to you later," she said finally, refusing to meet his eyes any longer. Ryan's face fell, and for the briefest moment, she saw a flicker of the boy who had haunted her dreams. "You can't keep running away," he said quietly, but she was already turning back. She climbed back up to the podium, her heart thudding. The moment felt pivotal, both exhilarating and terrifying. What had she just unleashed? What stories were about to unfold in front of her? The murmurs in the room flared back up as she gripped the edges of the podium. This was bigger than just her, she could feel it in her bones. "Sarah?" Jenna's urgent whisper cut through her thoughts. "Focus. You can do this." Taking a deep breath, she began to speak again, her heart a tangled mess of emotion and determination. Each word needed to be a bridge, not just for herself but for everyone listening. As the weight of the room pressed down on her, Sarah knew the fight was just beginning. How could she transform this moment into something that would reach every single person in that hall? Something much bigger was at play here, and she had to uncover it. Just then, a flash of movement caught her eye, a small figure in the corner, shaking, clutching a piece of paper. Someone else needed her to be brave. But what lay ahead could shatter everything she thought she knew. Could she feature her past without allowing it to erase her future? And as that thought settled in her heart, another question brewed in the silence. What had he really come to say? As Sarah stood at the podium, the weight of her past and present colliding, a surge of clarity washed over her. Here she was, on the edge of transforming a fear-riddled life into something vibrant and full of purpose. The eyes of the crowd still swirled with confusion. Ryan's unexpected appearance threw everything into chaos. But maybe that chaos was exactly what she needed. Taking a deep breath, she felt the warmth of determination fill her chest. "I have a story," she began, her voice gaining strength with each word. "A story that's not just mine, but one that many of us in this room share. It's about struggles, about falling down and finding the strength to stand back up." With each point Sarah made, the memories of her past intermingled with the faces around her. She thought of her children, of the laughter they shared over simple dinners, of her newfound community, a collective spirit that had unknowingly held her up. She realized that facing her fears head-on could not only heal her but also inspire others who felt shackled by their own history. Facing our past doesn't make us weak, she declared, her voice rising above the whispers. It shows our resilience. I made mistakes that made me question my worth. But look around us. This space, this community together, we can be more than our mistakes. A rustle went through the audience, all senses now attuned to her story, her truth. She felt a soft light radiate from Jenna, who stood steadfastly by her side, a symbol of support and friendship. Sarah glanced back at Ryan, still hovering on the sidelines, his gaze intense but unreadable. It's true, she continued, addressing both him and her audience. I was lost, but I chose to fight back. Every day I'm given gives me the chance to build a better life for my children and this community. But I need your help to do it. We need each other. There was a shift in the air, a collective inhalation, as if the crowd was leaning into her words. Sarah locked eyes with Jamie and Lily, who watched with innocent admiration. Their unwavering belief bolstered her courage. We can revive the community center. She spoke with fervor now. We can create a place for families to gather, connect, and support one another. Let us not just remember the laughter of children, let us make it happen again. An eruption of applause broke out, muddled with murmurs of agreement. She could see heads nodding, faces lit with hope. In that moment, she slammed her heart into the community she cherished. Then Ryan moved forward, surprising her yet again. I'm here too, he said, his voice cutting through the excitement. I want to help. The shock cascaded over the room. I know I'm not the guy you remember, he glanced at Sarah, but I made mistakes too. And I want to help fix what I can. The center could be a new beginning for you, for all of us. His admission hung in the air, an unexpected spark of redemption. Sarah sensed the tide of transformation washing over the assembly. In the bittersweet ache of vulnerability, she felt the backdrop of a much larger narrative unfolding. Together, let us provide inspiration, not judgment, Sarah said, a smile breaking across her face. Let us turn this vision into reality. It's time to heal, to connect, and to grow. Cheers erupted, sweeping through the room, feeding her spirit. Sarah looked out at her community, their dreams bouncing off one another, intertwining in a vibrant dance of possibilities. Community members stood, voices rising in enthusiasm, ready to support this vision with their talent and passion. In that whirlwind of energy, a cementing truth laid itself bare: no one was truly alone. They had each other, anchored by hope, laughter, and connection. As the meeting drew to a close and plans began to solidify, Sarah took a moment to breathe it all in. She felt lighter, full of purpose, surrounded by family, her kids still laughing, Jenna beaming proudly at her side, and even Ryan joining alongside, offering support. Life had a way of circling back, of intertwining the past with the present in ways that sculpted a better future. I think we're going to be just fine, she whispered to herself, an internal declaration echoing through her heart. In that instant, she knew today marked the start of something truly incredible. As they wrapped up, full of excitement and anticipation, she turned to the crowd and raised her voice one last time. Don't forget. We can rise, we can transform, and we can shine brighter than ever together. The applause swelled once more, and in that electric moment, Sarah embraced the enormity of their journey. This was it. The beginning of true connection, the uncovering of resilience, and a collective awakening that called them all forward into the light. Now, more than ever, it was time to act. And you, dear friend, you need to subscribe now to ensure you don't miss a single moment of the incredible journeys ahead. This is the moment to show your support for stories that inspire and connect. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformation. Hit that like button now to feed the algorithm and let your voice be heard in the comments. We want to know your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. Join our community, be a part of the change.